the most profitable show in crypto history. Stop everything that you're doing. Now it's crypto time. Welcome to the Crypto Villas Show.
Fala pessoal, bem-vindo a mais uma live do Vila. Agora tudo certo aí, depois do desencontro de calendários, tá? Muito obrigado a todo mundo que tá vendo tanto ao vivo quanto a reprise, tá? E para quem é novo, né, no canal, se inscreva, toca no sininho, ativa todas as notificações, deixando o like aí. Também, se possível, me siga nas outras redes sociais, né? Todos os links, claro, estão aqui embaixo na descrição do vídeo do YouTube. E se você tá vendo pelo Twitch também, vai lá no YouTube que na descrição tem tudo, tá? E hoje, né, como vocês sabem, aí a gente vai ter entrevista especial, né, com o CTO da BloXmove, o Harry. Já vou chamá-lo para conversar com a gente, né, fazer umas perguntinhas, tal, para saber o andamento do projeto, tudo. Como vocês sabem, nesse momento, o mais importante tem que ser realista, né? Não é o preço do ativo que está em bear market, mas é o andamento, né? O que está acontecendo, quais as perspectivas, justamente para ter aquela explosão legal que a gente gosta de ver lá no bull market, lá na frente, tá bom? Então, vou chamá-lo aqui. Hey, Harry, thank you for coming.
Hi, Crypto Villa. Nice to be here.
Oh, it's a big pleasure to have you here. And my first question is for those who don't know yet what BloXmove is, what you guys work with. So can you do a small introduction, please?
Yes. So BloXmove uses blockchain, decentralized identifiers, and other things to provide mobility as a service. Mobility as a service, anybody who lives in a city knows this. When you go into a subway, when you board a bus, when you rent a scooter, when you rent a car, when you use a taxi, that is mobility because you're moving. It's a car that's moving you as a service.
Perfect. And most of the people here actually already know about BloXmove because they are my followers and I always talk about the BloXmove. Yeah. But it's always good to do a small introduction because I always have someone new here, right? And the second question is, can you please talk a bit about any solution created on top of BloXmove? For example, yes. BloXmove Nigeria, I don't know.
Yes. So BloXmove Nigeria is a mobility as a service. So one of our partners called it Decentralized Uber. So the service is the same service that when you use Uber or Bolt or Grab, I'm not sure which of the giants is popular in Brazil. The service for the user looks the same. So you have two apps. You have a driver app, you have a passenger app, and the passenger calls the driver according to the map. The driver picks him up and brings him there. So the service experience is exactly the same, but this is decentralized. It's pure smart contracts in the back end. So what it means is, there is no central monopoly like Uber that owns all the business relationship, that owns the customer relationship, that owns the billing relationship, but everything belongs and all the interaction is directly between the driver and the passenger. So the money stays with the driver, the customer relationship stays with the driver, and this is completely composable, just like DeFi. So if you buy a ticket from one driver, you can use the same ticket with the other driver, because anyway, underneath there's an NF ticket and ERC20 tokens, and the system to transfer an NF ticket and the system to transfer ERC20 is blockchain standard, which means anybody can use anybody's ticket and be sure they get their money immediately. So it's a mobility service, and we launched in Nigeria, and I believe there's a similar case to be made for Latin America and Brazil, because in the situation is, in Europe, you have a lot of public transport, which is already provided by the government. So the mobility services, there is not a big need for innovation. People think it's good enough. But if you go to a country like Nigeria, what do you have? The size is about the size of Brazil. The population is about the size of Brazil. And there is a very many young people, which I believe is also the case in Brazil. There is no government-provided mobility. So all the mobility is private. They have tuk-tuk, which they call keke. They have three-wheelers. They have taxi. They have buses. There's almost no train. For long distances, the rich people take planes. So everything is private. It's very, very busy because it's very densely populated. And the culture is very open to crypto. So Nigeria is the most open country, the country most friendly to crypto in terms of how many people are using crypto in their daily life. And the mobility service is also, it's growing. The big operators already went in. In Nigeria, it is Bolt, not Uber, who's the big one. But already there's a whole union of drivers who try to stand up against them, because these big companies, they take 20 and 30% of the revenue as commission. They don't give any of the customer data back. The driver has no way to improve himself because all the technology and all the data lies with the operator, and that operator takes 20, 30% Bolt. So it's a very good environment to enter. And what we're offering, it's called ride hailing. It is a driver app and a passenger app. You can download it on Play Store, and you can download it on Apple Store.
And talking a little about the app, I saw that you guys have now integrated your own wallet in the BloXmove app. So I'd like to know how is the user experience going?
Well, we integrated it because I am from the crypto world, pretty much. You are even more from the crypto world. So for us, a wallet, of course, we all have a wallet. So we have MetaMask, Trust Wallet, whatever, with a Trezor, without a Trezor, it doesn't. But this is mobility business. We're using blockchain because it solves problems better than other technology, but neither our passenger nor our driver is interested in blockchain or not blockchain. They don't really care. If it solves the problem better, it's good. If it doesn't solve the problem, go away. It's that simple.
Simple, yeah.
So when we launched, we had an app, but because it's blockchain, you do need a wallet to sign the transaction. So we had an external wallet, which was Valora, which is the wallet, the MetaMask for the Celo network. You could also use MetaMask, but it was the app. And then whenever you need to confirm something, you would jump to the wallet, you would confirm, then something would happen, then the app would again come up. So the people had to have two apps. And first of all, they had to download a wallet. And 90% of the people, the passenger and the drivers, don't even know what a wallet is. Wallet what? Blockchain what? So that was a really big issue in getting people to accept it. So because of that, what we did is, all right, let's now take what a wallet is, which is a piece of software with a public key and a private key, which allows you to sign a transaction. It's actually not big code once you understand it. And then we put that inside of the app. So now the app itself has the MetaMask, if you wish, inside of it. So you don't have the jumping around anymore. So this solved a very big acceptance problem in terms of the users now being comfortable. All right, I just need your app. I don't need to download the second app. I'm not jumping from one wallet to the app and the app to the wallet. So it was an important step to move forward and get the drivers and the passengers to actually use it.
And about the implementation of the decentralized governance, could you please explain the model? Because in many projects, we have this kind of DAOs, decentralized autonomous organization that is not exactly a DAO. So I'd like to know how it works in BloXmove.
DAO is a big word. DAO is more or less, if you want to sit down and do deep philosophy, we talk about DAO, maybe we drink a beer or two beers, or we smoke a cigarette or whatever, and we talk about the meaning of DAO. But DAO is a very wide, very general word. What are we trying to do when we say we need to decentralize and we need to have a decentralized governance? What are we trying to do? It's actually very simple. For many reasons, right now when we started like a venture. So myself and two co-founders and the core team, we ran, and at this point we still do, we run what is happening in BloXmove. So it's more or less a venture company, and that's it. But at the same time, we're running with no bank, we're running with no intermediary, we're running on crypto, which is essentially off government infrastructure. And this is only accepted by regulators and lawmakers if this product doesn't belong to person A, Harry, person B, Cryptovia, person C, Sophia. So what does decentralizing mean? Somehow, who does it belong to? Not this person, but a group. That's number one. Then when the coding continues, who does the coding? Who decides what to code? Is it one CTO, me? That's not good for decentralization. And then legally speaking, this could still be a security because I am selling it as a security. So what needs to happen is the coding needs to happen over GitHub, and there is no central control. And of course, last but not least, there is what's called a foundation or a treasury where all the remaining BLXM tokens, which have not yet been released, are. Roughly speaking, there's about half of the tokens which have not yet been released. So they sit in this, currently it's a multi-sig wallet, and they sit there and they don't really belong to the founding team, but so far we control the multi-sig wallet. And that is the most important part now about the decentralization. That token treasury I, Harry, and the other two multi-sig signers, we will take our hands off. We will not control those tokens anymore. We will find a way, smart contracts, possibly a form of multi-signature wallet, where the community of people who have signed up will then control those tokens. And then you have simple tools where you can have proposals and voting. All right, who do we give a grant of X BLXM and what do we give it for? And the decisions for that must not be made by me or any one specific person, but the decision for that must be made by the holders of qualified tokens. So this is what the purpose is. It is not a very, very complicated story, but the result of it is that the people that own the tokens are the people that decide what happens with the tokens. So by the people, for the people, from the people, if you wish. And then my role and any role of the names that are still connected to it will be less. I will participate, but that's another very important criterion. There's a very easy way to measure, is it decentralized or not? One way to measure is if the core team goes away, goes to jail or falls from the sky or goes sick and they're gone. Does the project continue, yes or no? If the answer to that is the project can continue even though the core team is not there anymore, that is a very big thing about, okay, then you have done a big step towards decentralization. And we are in the next 4 to 8 weeks. That is exactly what we will do. So right now, myself and 2 more people control the tokens. In 8 weeks, if we talk again, I will not have any more control over it.
8 weeks?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. And how is gonna, just one more question about this, because I understood that you have the treasure, right? And the treasure is gonna be used by what the community wants, right? By voting and this and that. But by voting, the voting process, how is gonna work exactly? Every token is 1 vote, or?
This is exactly why I said 8 weeks and not next week. So there's some design which is needed here. So probably it will be a form of what is called quadratic voting, which means each token has as many votes as the square number of those tokens. Why? Otherwise, the whales control everything. So that is the one thing. And then you also need to decide what are the tools. So we will also use a measure, essentially a product. So number of tokens, think of number of tokens as the length, and then the time staked, which gives you a square. So number of tokens times this, so this gives you a square, and we will then measure the area of the square, and that will be your weight in the voting. So one example, 100 tokens staked for 100 days gives you 10,000. 10 tokens staked for 1,000 days also gives you 1,000. The one has 10 tokens, the other one has 100 tokens, but they have the same voting right. Okay? This is not yet the final detail, but this is the mechanism which we are currently looking at and which we will then implement.
But it's I know it's not final yet, but it's a good solution because you are giving rewards for the people who are participating, right, in the BloXmove. Let's change the topic a little bit. Regarding talking about listing, right? We read something about Coinbase, this and that. So I'd like to understand how is the token listing process progressing in Coinbase?
Yes. So here I just have to set expectations right. So if you read carefully what the Coinbase story is, Coinbase is a very knowledgeable exchange, and they operate in the United States where the regulators are very rough. So they know exactly what to do to avoid trouble. So what do? They approach many projects. One of them was us. And they once we appear somehow on their radar, I don't know how they filter, but once you appear on their radar, they pre-qualify you. They just say, should we even talk to these people? That does not say they will list you. I do not want that anybody to tell me that I said Coinbase will list us. I do not know if Coinbase will list us. Coinbase approached us, and I'm sure they approached others. And what they approached us with, and you will find that in our Medium articles, is a very well structured message. We looked at your token, and as it stands, it is not decentralized. It does not qualify, which means even if we wanted to list you, we cannot list you because our regulators in the US would not allow it because you're not decentralized enough. So everything I told you here, or 80% of what I told you about the decentralization, is essentially them teaching us that. They're saying, you have a core team. As long as you have a core team that decides what the project is, that is not decentralized, which means this is a token that we cannot list. As long as you have the developers being paid by your development, by your company, and development only happens according to what the CTO decides, you do not qualify. Then another criterion is there a utility? That's now easy because, of course, we have the utility for the mobility service. So long story short, you asked me earlier about the decentralization. The roadmap and the system I'm following is, what are the criteria? How does Coinbase decide? Do you qualify? This is necessary, not sufficient. There's a big difference. So what is the minimum requirement that we need from you? So legally speaking, we can look at your token and our regulator will agree this is not a security and it's not a financial product because it is decentralized. That is when we talked about what is needed for decentralization, what we will do. Then after this is done, we qualify basically for Coinbase on the decentralization. Then if they want to list us or if they don't want to list us is a second story. But if you don't qualify on the decentralization level, there is no second story because they cannot consider you. So long story short, they approached us. That is a fact. We are now working towards getting those necessary requirements done, which is what we talked about earlier, which will happen in 4 to 8 weeks. Then we have the necessary requirements done. So then we hope and we will try to discuss with them, are they going to list us? What do they need? They will probably need volume. Right now, the volume on the token is not good. You can check that yourself. You probably know better than I do. So I would say right now our volume is probably too low to qualify, but this they will tell me. But as soon as we're done with the decentralization, I will approach them again and they answer. So then they will tell me, yes, there is a possibility, but, or there is no possibility because, or, well, let us work together and see. This is all I know. So no promise that we will list on Coinbase. The only thing we're doing is they approached us. They told us, if you don't do that, we cannot even consider. We now do that. Then they can consider us. And if they consider us, then for listing or not, that is a second process which has not started yet.
But I understand everything, but it's a very good news, and it's good to know that they approach you. So they have not just about listing, but about the project as a whole, right? So they could understand the potential of the project, what you guys are working on, and this is just by itself, it's a good
Yes,
news.
of course. Yes, they do this regularly. So they seem to be very well structured. I only have exchanged email with 2 or 3 people there, but it seems they have a good system in place to qualify tokens. And again, they contacted us. I have already talked to one more project that was also contacted by them. So they have a system there, a radar where they identify projects and they then send them probably an email very similar to the email they sent us. And then depending on what comes out of it, that is essentially what will then flow into their listing roadmap.
Perfect. And in the final of the interview, I'm going to do a question about the market as a whole. But right now, as we are talking about listing, I'd like to know if you guys have other listing on the radar or something like that.
Right now, I see no sense in it. There is always this discussion. It's been going on for 2 years now. Go get listed, go get listed, go get listed. And we listed on 2 exchanges, and from one we even withdrew already. So we listed on Bitmart, we listed on Whitebit. They're both tier 2, tier 3 layer. So they're good, not top level. The top levels, we were too small, or they were too expensive. So there was one top level that asked us for $500,000. Sorry, I'm not paying $500,000. Even in the bull market, I'm not paying $500,000. So then there is very few that are left. Also, it's getting harder and harder. Plus, I mean, we're in the decentralized world. I still don't understand. Look at it. No decentralized exchange was ever hacked. No decentralized exchange managed to steal from their customers. The only stealing and the only hacking happens in bridges and in centralized exchanges. Yeah. Why do people even want a centralized exchange? If you're in crypto, I understand if your father-in-law who just wants to invest and he knows nothing about crypto, that he needs a centralized exchange, I can understand that. But somebody who's in crypto, who's on Telegram, who's using MetaMask or Trust Wallet or Trezor every day, why do you even need a centralized exchange? Why? Anyway, I give up this discussion because for me, so now you look at what is available. There is essentially for us now 4 exchanges that we would take, but we need to be qualified for them. Those are Coinbase, those are Kraken, which are very, very, very top level 1. so not easy to get in. And then KuCoin, which is at least until recently far too expensive, and Gate.io, which is also very good, not easy anymore. They used to be easier. So any of those four, we will proceed. Anything else, it's simply not worth the money, because the minimum it costs you, everything included, the minimum is 150,000 US dollars. There is no cheaper listing. Everything, if you add it up, the marketing, the listing fee, the deposits, etc., you're
Market maker and
the minimum is 150,000. Usually you're closer to $250,000. That's a lot of cash leaving your treasury for what exactly? So
totally agree.
Plus it's a bear right now.
But it's good to talk about this in order to explain to the people, right?
Yes,
and make the people think about it. It doesn't make any sense if a project, a small project, is doing this kind of list, spending this kind of money. They are not thinking the investors. That's the truth, right? They are thinking on their own money and maybe dump or this and that. So totally agree with you, Harry. And the next question, it's about comeback about the BloXmove itself. What are the next steps foreseen in the roadmap?
Well, the main step now, because we announced it already 6 weeks ago, and because of the heavy focus now on Nigeria, we kind of didn't move a lot. The next immediately step is the actual decentralization. We will launch, we call it an NFT avatar. So what it will be an NFT. We will launch it as a collection. It'll have its own kind of artworks next to it. But what it will essentially be is, it will be your voting passport. So it will include your staked tokens. It will identify you, and it'll be the NFT. Every voter in the community that have governance rights will need to present such an NFT ticket, which represents, okay, Harry, I have staked X number of tokens for certain amount of days. This gives me this percentage of voting right. And when there's a vote, I present this NFT, and only qualified NFTs are even allowed into the voting. It's like token gated voting. So we are building that up. That will be announced at launch sometime middle of next week or beginning of next week. And then the actual selection of the tools, which tools are we going to do, and what I told you about those 8 weeks. So those 8 weeks start end next week, when we actually start executing, so that at the end of those 8 weeks, myself and the founding members do not control the project anymore. We are participants, but we are one of many. That is the immediate next steps right now towards the end of the year.
Perfect. And do you guys have some KPIs or goals that you can share with us?
For the decentralization, I have to say it's absolute. There is no real KPI. So the KPI that we will announce, but I do not have a target. The KPIs that we will announce is clear. How many active community members in the voting? So who registered as qualified voters, and then how many proposals, how many tokens committed. So those will be the KPIs by which we measure. There is no target because I have no comparison. I'm doing this for the first time. That's a fact. So the KPIs will be how many community members are active, and then the same thing for the source code. We will go public with the source code with maybe 2 weeks delay, so it'll follow the community. So first will be the tokens, then will be the source code, and then for the source code it'll be the same thing. So on the GitHub, then in the beginning it will be 3, 5, 10, 20 developers, and that will be the KPIs to follow. How many branches, how many commits. So those will be the KPIs to follow, but they should all be public numbers. So all of this will be visible even without us communicating, because if you have essentially a smart contract managed voting system, people can just go into the smart contract and measure how many wallets are in there, how many people are in there. So those will be the main KPIs for decentralization.
Okay, and talking a little bit about the crypto markets, I'd like to know, in your opinion, what we is going to face in the short and midterm, and how BloXmove is preparing for short, midterm, and bull markets as a whole.
Well, short term, I mean, the last 1 year have been brutal.
Yeah.
So that's a fact. And for me, the thing to watch is what will happen in the US. So there was a bear market which was investor driven at first. That is not so bad. That's not so much of a problem, I think, because that can go away. But then sometime, I think after his friend SBF got caught and he got ashamed, then Gary Gensler, the SEC boss of the US, got extremely aggressive. And he completely switched. He was buddy with SBF, our poster boy, good. And then his poster boy got, well, I don't want to use the word, but his poster boy got, whatever. And our friend CG had a big hand in it. And so all of a sudden, it's almost like revenge. The man goes totally brutal, Terminator, against crypto. And this is a very powerful man in the most powerful country of the world. And as long as this doesn't stop, I do not see a recovery on the big scheme of things. That has to stop first, because I already see it in Europe. Because of what is happening here, the word crypto is already a word that ends a discussion. It used to be a word by which you start a discussion. Oh, you're in crypto? Oh, tell me about it. I heard what? That used to be the case 10 months ago. Now crypto, people, oh, crypto. Oh, you're in crypto. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so, they think something wrong.
Yeah, it's gone really bad. So, and as long as that doesn't change, I do not see a recovery. I know that doesn't sound positive, but that needs to change first. Before that, I don't see a recovery. Bitcoin is different. Bitcoin is completely separate. I believe Bitcoin lives on its own and has its completely own. Now it's so big and so gold. Bitcoin is Bitcoin. But the whole smart contract crypto world of things, no. Right
and
now,
one thing, Harry, we share the same thinking about Gary Gensler.
It is fairly obvious. I really don't know why so few people say it. This is, come on.
We always talk about him here in my channel, and how he used to be a SBF close friends, right? So, but yes, and could avoid Celsius, couldn't avoid other things, but with real projects, right? It's totally against. So crypto is just for hackers, for fraud, and this and that. And you can see in his face that he doesn't believe what he's saying, but he has to say for some reason that I don't know why. It's
none of us know
weird.
the reason, but the problem is the man is so powerful. We don't need to know the reason. We just feel the result, and the result is not good. So I think people tell me, bull market is coming, bull market is coming. I hope the bull market is coming. But one thing I know, even if halving of Bitcoin and all of that, now the halving of Bitcoin, and then there will be, Bitcoin has decoupled. Bitcoin is Bitcoin, and it goes on its cycle, and that is now indestructible. Gold is gold, diamonds are diamonds, Bitcoin is Bitcoin. It's not going away. The rest, we'll see.
Yes, but I think we are going to have a very, very, very great, I don't know, out season, but it's not very close. But maybe 2025, this time, because if you have a lot of money in the crypto space, maybe with ETF, spot, this and that, if you get just some part from Bitcoin or from ETH and go to the altcoins, it's a lot, because when talking about small cap altcoins, right? I really believe this is going to happen again in another cycle, but it's not too soon. It's going to take
Now we have to build,
time.
have to stay alive in the market.
Exactly. The main challenge is stay alive, stay building, and when it's coming, it's coming. But you are ready already. Okay. So, Harry, I'd like to thank you so much for coming here to my show. It was again a big pleasure have you here, and I'd like to invite you to come back here maybe some months later and do another interview if you agree.
I would definitely like to present how BloXmove is looking after we decentralize.
If you decide really you guys do something here in Brazil, mainly in São Paulo, maybe I can help you.
This is clear. There is definitely the basic structure is similar. So I have no contacts in Brazil, but if it can work in Nigeria, it can work in Brazil. Many things are very different. One is Africa, one is Latin America. The level of development is not the same yet. But there is many things in common. If you look from
I agree, and I think here I'm not sure, but I think is the city for Uber is the city with most rights in the world here in São Paulo, and there's a reason, right? Because you need car, because you don't have a lot of infrastructure, metro, this and that.
There's no tram, there's no subway.
And every Uber driver, for example, complain about the high percent that Uber or other companies take, and they take, and the driver don't have more the contacts of the customer. They can't do another ride in the future, so it's totally unfair. And so I think there's
blockchain is a liberating force, really. I mean, I mean this seriously. Because it's decentralized and because it's open and because it's composable, it puts power back into the hands of those who make the real work. The driver makes the real work, not Uber makes the real work. The driver makes the real work. So he should decide how the service is structured, and he should not have to pay 20 or 25% of revenue. Think about it. There is no business in the world. I don't know if your father is a businessman. Ask any businessman. If you find any businessman that runs a company, ask them about their profit margin. There is no legal business in the world that has profit margin of 25%. But Uber takes 25% of your revenue. And after that, the poor guy has to pay tax. And after that, he has to pay insurance. And he has to pay the fuel. And Uber takes 25% of the revenue and has basically no cost because the software is constant. So that is incredibly profitable. And most of all, the biggest part is, as you look forward, you need to improve yourself. You need to know more about your customers. You need to do data analysis, data mining. Now it's called machine learning. You need to have the customer relationship. You need to follow up with your customer to make more customers. But all of that is taken away from the driver, and it's only in the hand of this one company. So everywhere in the world, the Uber drivers and the Bolt drivers and the Grab drivers are complaining. And everywhere in the world, the answer is the same. Let's try to offer the same service with the same scalability, and blockchain offers that, but let's do it in a collaborative, cooperative. Let's do it in a decentralized way.
Perfect. So again, thank you, Harry, for coming.
Obrigado.
Obrigado.
Muito obrigado.
E obrigado a todo mundo aqui que veio, tá bom? E deixando o like aí, se inscrevendo no canal. Obrigado, pessoal. Até a próxima e tchau, tchau.